Hello, YouTube. My name is Plazookas. You know how Tectone likes to shit on small creators, right? Well, what happens when he shits on a small creator that turns out to be a semi-big creator? Well, you're going to see a Tectone that is going to cowtail to someone and is going to look like the absolute person that he is, essentially. So without further ado, let's get into this interview that he had with ChudTV, who, is not like the best case scenario, but because Tectone does not really allow anybody to just interview him or to talk to him, i.e. me, we'll take it. It's a win for win's sake, okay?
Add me on Discord. Username is just Tectone.
Okay, I've added you.
Great. Yeah, once again, I have no issue talking to anybody. This will be like a brief conversation, guys. But, yeah, Chud.
Definitely has issues talking to people, by the way. If he didn't have issues and he wanted to debunk everything and he wanted to actually hold me accountable, he would talk to me and just be done. And then he'd make a fool of me, and then my career would end, and that would be it. But he doesn't, because as you're going to see right now, Chud is going to go in. He's going to go in semi-hard, but in reality, it wasn't hard enough. But at the same time, you're going to see the vulnerabilities of Tectone very clear. It's the alpha trans in him. You can't help it.
Chud logic.
And I don't say that derogatory, by the way. Alpha trans is a very serious movement that I think is unfortunately scrutinized and victimized and villainized and all that. They're bullies that have decided to become masculine appearing, masculine fronting, but in reality, they're still weak individuals that need a lot of help. And so Tectone needs help, and hopefully he'll get it soon.
All right, we'll see how this conversation goes. Could it be good? Could it be bad? Who knows? Yo.
Hello, how's it going?
Well, it was going good, but I made a comment comparing you to Frogan the other day, and
Yeah, Frogan's a small content creator who is, universally hated, so Tectone knew that would be a win. Hassan is a big content creator that he knew would be a win. He thought this was going to be a win, and turns out, as he'll get to it, it's not.
I wanted to say I didn't mean that. But what I
Interesting concession. We don't hear that often from Tectone. We don't hear that often.
meant by that Frogan comment was,
Okay, now it's revisionist history. Let's walk it back a little bit.
you know how Frogan. Oh wait. Oh, you're turned on camera. Oh, okay, great. I can do that too if you want.
Sure.
Yeah. So what I meant by that comment was that I didn't mean to offend you. Was that there was an era?
I gotta be honest, mate. It feels like you're backtracking a little bit.
He turned on his camera, but unfortunately, he shares it with OBS probably, or vice versa, Discord, and it won't do it on both things. I think you need a separate setup to do it. So unfortunately, it didn't come through.
Now, I must say.
Thank you. I mean, he kept him honest here, which is great because he knows how the message kind of was conveyed. And if you clumping people in like Frogan and stuff like that, and it's the Hassan, it's the T word, it's all of that, it's not very good. It's not very good, and we know that Tectone likes to deplatform people every single day, and you better fucking believe he tried to deplatform Chud.
It does feel like you're backtracking straight away.
Hold up. Let me explain it. You tell me if it makes sense to you.
That's how, folks.
Okay. So you know how Frogan gets like no viewers on Twitch, yet she's blasted on like Drama Alert, Yeet, LSF. So what I meant by that is I had only assumed that you only had 60 viewers on Twitch. I didn't know that you had thousands of.
Right. So he's trying to say that it's some kind of inside job, that a conspiracy theory, that somebody's trying to boost them up, and that LSF is such a horrible run community. But we can have all these other communities that exist for anti-woke stuff, for Hassan hating communities that lambast. We can have communities like Tectone, which are cultish sheepish, but we can't have ones that actually are on the opposite or talk about certain other things like, I don't know, people that stream that have like F takes because they don't want to just do content. They want to talk about drama and other shit that they don't have any business talking about. And therefore, they say stupid shit that should be brought to the public and they should be held accountable for it. But these people think they don't need to be held accountable because live streams don't fucking exist. That's what they've said time and time again. Live streams don't really exist. Your community exists. Your sponsors who pay you a lot of money to influence them. They exist. All the shit that you spew to them, like Andrew Tate or all these other people, they exist, and their minds exist, and he changes them, exists.
The viewers on YouTube. So I just said,
Okay.
it's just another Frogan. Does that make sense? Or do you think
No.
I'm just like trying to lie to you for some reason?
Because you're a fucking you're a deep platform and alpha trans bitch is what you are.
Well,
And the reason why, we'll get to it, but the reason why is because this guy did a video on his father. And you know the number one rule about Tectone. He can talk about everybody else, but you can't talk about him or his family or anything else. If you do, he'll try to deplatform you. If you're small. And if you're hated. Otherwise, he's too much of a bitch to do it to anybody that actually matters.
it does make sense.
Which is why he's revisionist history right now to this guy, because he actually has a YouTube presence, which he's scared of.
And I got to be honest with you. There's another clip where, and I saw this a little while ago, but I didn't pay much heed.
Sure.
But you made some comment about me being ugly. Okay.
Well,
Now,
I mean, come on.
I'm long in the tooth. No,
Good.
listen. I'm long in the tooth. I understand this is what happens. We talk shit about each other. Okay. But it just seemed odd to me that this comment seemed to come fairly soon after I'd released a video where I was skeptical of your response to the allegations against you.
Oh, yeah, of course. Obviously, that's going to piss me off. For sure. By the way, did I actually invite you to play Fortnite?
So here's the psycho babble that is happening right here. So he knows that that's a negative. Tectone knows that it's a negative, so he's going to put a positive in here and try to create some association with this community to know that these guys have, semi-connected before in the past, and that he was trying to help him out as a small content creator, to give him that extra, because he looks bad right now. He's trying anything. This is the victim blaming. This is the fucking counter, psychoanalysis shit that he does with his community. Revisionist history shit. It's common with Tectone, and it works for his community.
Yeah, like 2 years ago.
That's hilarious.
It was when I was in the middle of some other drama.
What was it?
Change the subject. Oh, that's hilarious. That wasn't even the point of the conversation, but let's just change it.
What drama are you in?
It was something to do with OTK. There was some sort of maybe the Mizkiff stuff or something like that. I can't remember.
Which Mizkiff stuff? There's a lot. Do you remember which one?
I think the stuff when he tried to top himself. I tell you what, Tectone, you're being very pleasant now.
So what I'm reading into this is that 2 years ago when he tried to make it a positive, which it will be conveyed or at least looked at on his community as positive. He tried to get this guy to play a stream with him because he didn't want him coming after Mizkiff. He was trying to stop him from reporting on Mizkiff. And yeah, that's just common tactic for Tectone. He don't care if anybody's saying anything, even if it is legitimate, even if it is fucking valid. And it would be one thing if Tectone was a private guy. He didn't actually start any beef with anybody. But he's the one that starts beef with everybody. And then he expects nothing else in return. He doesn't expect any kind of recourse or accountability at all, period.
Now, aren't you? Very nice. What's that about?
Well, I'm usually a pretty nice guy whenever I talk to people online.
You seem very dismissive, and that I wasn't worth any consideration yesterday because I was like a 60 viewer Andy. So what's changed?
Bam!
Because I found out that I hurt your feelings when I didn't.
Bam! That is not the fucking reason you call everybody under the sun every alphabetical name that could probably be offensive to them if they actually took words seriously. Shut your fucking lying mouth. You thought he was a 60 fucking viewer Andy, and your community told you he wasn't, and that he actually has some pull, and that his viewers and that his audience could actually affect yours.
Mean so.
Well, it's not really about hurting my feelings. It's that you're quite a dishonest person, I think. And you were just hand-waving me away because you thought I was, able to just be knocked into the long grass without any much consideration. That's what it felt like.
Oh, I'm sorry you feel that way.
Okay.
But you have him on there to apologize, and now you're going to, not even be able to understand where he's coming from. Like, why wouldn't he be upset?
Well, I mean, I guess your apology is somewhat appreciated, but it's just kind of worthless, isn't it, really?
Oh, yeah, I mean, we're probably not going to talk ever again, but, I just made a comment where I compared you to Frogan, and nobody deserves that, and that's pretty much it.
Okay.
Nobody deserves it, and yet you did it to him. Because you deplatform everybody. That is your motto operandi. Deplatform everybody. What's the one thing I can do to say that's fucking hyperbolic and overly aggressive? That can be taken out of context, but not really, because it's just humorous. It's just humorous. And that could potentially deplatform somebody, because I'm a big content creator who has a lot of influence, especially if it's a 60 viewer Andy who's going to get obliterated by me and my community.
You want to talk about your dad, I guess.
Nice, good job. I mean, this is the part. I mean, he did a good job. Don't get me wrong.
Anything you want to talk about? Any problems with my coverage?
Wait, you want to talk about my dad?
He's so red in the face right now. He can't handle it. Look how red he is. He knew this was a mistake. I have to give Tectone credit. He's about one of the stupidest people I've ever met, which would be endearing if he wasn't such a fucking asshole.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I'm assuming you are aware of my coverage of your situation, which is probably why you're so pissed off at me.
I saw the thumbnail of the video, but I never clicked it.
Right, okay. Well, at least we can be honest about it.
I mean, come on. How are you going to literally try to blow up somebody's career, especially a 60 viewer Andy, and you didn't even see the context of what he was talking about? You just saw that you cried on stream talking about your father, which you should have already known you were going to get criticized for, because you fucking criticized everybody for that specific reason, for crying on fucking stream. I've showed the example.
How about at least?
I think I have been pretty honest so far.
No, you're walking back everything in your revisionist history. That's what you do, Tectone. You intended to deplatform this guy, to cause him a lot of issues in strife, because he talked about your father and you.
Okay. Except for when you acted like you had no idea who I was and hand waved me away, but it was...
That's true. He did on Twitter. He said, I don't even know who this guy doesn't even matter. And then Ozzy, I haven't even shown this, but maybe we'll do it after. Ozzy basically showed proof that he knew who this person was 3 months ago or something like that. The timeline was like weird, but he knew who this guy was. He just didn't know how big he was, or maybe he did, and he thought he could play with fire. I don't know.
It's clearly because you were upset with my coverage.
Well, okay, so here's the thing.
Yeah,
right now, we're engaging in a I feel like you did this, and I feel like you did that, right? And that's, what's that really going to do? You know what I mean?
Well, obviously, I can't prove how you feel about something. That's impossible.
Of course.
But it just seems like you were, extremely dismissive the moment my face popped up on the screen. And to me, piecing it together, that seemed to be because you were unhappy with my coverage of your situation with your father, and prior the coverage of your allegations, where I was somewhat skeptical of your response.
So the reason why I was very dismissive, and once again, I'm sorry, Chud, I hope that didn't bother you too much, was there was this era where you were always popping up on LSF, like Chud Logic thread after Chud Logic thread after Chud Logic thread. And I'm just like, who the fuck is this guy? And I think that was the general consensus for the majority of people who saw that you popping up on LSF, was like, who the fuck is this guy? Like, who the fuck is Chud? Right? And that's pretty much just it. Right? So like my thing is, why would I care about a person's opinion who I have no idea who they are? And that's pretty much just it. Now, I think you understand that, like, I could have picked up this call, gone in on you, been an abrasive dickhead. It's very easy for me to do, but I have no interest in doing that. That's pretty much just it.
No, he came onto this call in hopes that he could hopefully repair whatever issue his community was having with him about this specific person, Chud. This is an arc that he knew he had to play. He had to play the nice guy arc. He had no choice. Because people actually like Chud's coverage, I think, outside of him criticizing Tectone.
It was just a comment of, I compared you to Frogan. Sorry, you're not Frogan.
No, sure. And look, and at the end of the day, we obviously...
He's not Frogan because he's legitimate, essentially. And therefore, if he was not legitimate, then he has no business being on the platform, because he's a small content creator, and Tectone eats those up for lunch.
You're not going to be best buds or anything, right? But it just seems a bit bizarre.
One game of Fortnite could change everything.
I want to let you all know, and I don't know if I still have this VOD, but I was offered to play Fortnite with Tectone too. So do not let that be the deciding factor on whether he likes somebody or wants to be friends with somebody, because I'll be very, very clear. He does not want to be friends with me. He does not want to like me. So that is just another one of those jabs that he does that I would not allow.
Rico Tomato.
I tried my hardest. To get Chud to put me on Discord with him, with Tectone, to do a 3-way, because I wanted to do the Hex Juice MTash thing. Chud just wouldn't listen. The chat was being abrasive. They were like, who are you? Who are you? You're just some random person. I was like, no, I'm a content creator. I mean, you may not like my content, but I'm a content creator who has some public, I don't know what you want to call it. So I wasn't just gonna just be, just a random person. I was gonna actually do some content and provide some hopefully good context for Chud and for Tectone to interact, but it didn't happen. So.
Look,
Sound right now.
you're a little I can see your little tactics, right? You're trying to build rapport. I see what you're doing. I see exactly what you're doing, mate. Okay?
I feel like I'm not doing anything. Am I going crazy?
No, it's fine. No. Listen, all I want to say is, if you were just real about it and you said, "Oh, Chud Logic, that's the tosser that fucking had to go at my dad. What a dickhead." I mean, what have I got to say?
Yeah, trying to make him comparing to Frogan, trying to make him like he doesn't exist, like he doesn't matter.
Like, fair enough. I fucking was mean and made mean comments about you. I get it. But it's the fact, and I'm, whatever. I've had it all the time. Big streamers saying, "Who is this guy?" It doesn't matter.
Hold on, let me.
But it just seemed like for someone that prides themselves on honesty, you weren't being 100% honest.
Sure. Let me see if I can give you any amount, because you're saying a lot of scenes.
And will he admit? Will he admit that he wasn't being honest? Will he admit? And he won't.
You feel this way. Let me see if I can show you any proof of this.
I was out about
how do I
proof
do
with
this? Is there
Tectone.
any way that I can show you this?
Well, you bought your dad.
Well, I don't know if this helps, but like, if you can see my stream right
This guy right now literally did not even watch any of the video.
now on this whole video where it says Tectone sobs when exposed for rapist father. Jesus, that's quite the title. Oh, Jesus.
What are you talking about? Anybody that knows you knows that you criticize everybody else for crying on stream and being emotional. And they shouldn't do this. They're not cut out for it. So are you going to actually tell this Chud person that is your actual belief that you tell everybody? And I know what your community is going to be like. I know what you're going to be. I'm just joking. It's just a joke. Well, guess what? Tell your community that. Okay? Because they don't actually believe it's a joke. They're Andrew Tate. They're Andrew Tate people. Okay? They believe in male masculinity. They believe that everybody's trying to come after the white race. Blah, 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 blah. All the other fucking talking points that you've spewed out of your mouth.
I don't.
I mean,
correct me.
That's
correct me.
provocative. That's
Sure,
provocative. But I
correct.
feel like you were being quite manipulative when you were crying about it. If we're going to bring that up.
Oh,
That's-
you think I was faking the tears?
You could have been being genuinely emotional. I can't tell that, but it just seemed like it was quite a performative act.
I will
that you were
admit, Chud's being very, very smart here because he can't speak to Tectone's emotions. He can only speak to his opinion. And Tectone's trying to wiggle himself out by, saying you knew how I felt at that moment to try to get Chud into like a hole. But Chud is pretty smart. He's navigating it pretty well right now.
making because
But
you're embarrassed about Hassan bringing this up.
You really have a lot of like bad faith in me, huh?
Okay, so here it is. Bad faith is one of those trigger terms in his community where you're already dismissed. As soon as bad faith comes into it, they're going to assume that you've already come to some conclusion that is not true.
Have you ever watched me anytime besides the clips you see online, or is this like your first time ever like seeing me at
Another way to discredit someone's opinion. Go ahead.
all?
I don't really watch your stuff that much. I've
That
mainly covered
makes
well.
sense. Yeah, I have to.
I do, and I know what Chud is saying is actually accurate. So even though he might not have any, actual proof or evidence, I do. Tectone. And you crying on stream, yeah, it's either a ploy or you need to quit streaming. Either one. So you make your choice. You either admit to the fact that you did it to be a victim, or you actually were emotional. And if so, then by your own standards, by your own code of conduct, you need to cancel yourself and leave the streaming for good, because you're just not in the right mental state right now. Come back when you have therapy and you can never cry on stream again. Or you go apologize to every one of the people that you've ever criticized and you do something for them personally. And then you try to change the narrative in your community. If you can't, you have to quit.
Imagine the opinion that you have of me after only interfacing with me via like watching clips.
Nobody. You didn't interact with any of the other people that you criticized half the time either, and you just took whatever was the standard issue with those people, and you try to deplatform them as well. You never understood their actual context, their actual platforms, and their community and stuff like that. So I agree with your criticism here about not understanding people, because that's the one thing I try not to do on my channel, by the way. Everybody's like, just cover everybody else. cover this person, cover that person. No, I try not to. I try to cover the people that I know, and that helps me and it informs me, so I can be very informative. I can be very truthful to the extent that I'm, able to without actually knowing somebody and not be parasocial.
I think that was
extremely difficult, by the way.
Informative, but yeah, no, that was just me being really upset because the thing is, when you have are you close with your dad?
When you have a father, he's gonna say, when you have a father, like me, my moo, and then he changed it because he knew how that was gonna sound. Like he already did with the military thing. He's like, because I am offended, because I am a soldier. Like he said that when he was talking in context with his, brothers and father. He was basically implying that he was also a soldier and that he was offended by that when he's never been a soldier. Therefore, you cannot be offended by that.
Not really, no.
Yeah, so like I was very close with my dad, and when you're 16 years old,
I was very close to my dad. Remember, the narrative was that he wasn't close to his dad. I mean, this could have been, he could be saying before the allegations, before the, actual jail time and stuff like that, where then he disconnected with him. But
I don't want to think of your dad as like a fucking horrible human being. Like, obviously, I knew my dad went to jail. However, he told me that it was all a bunch of bullshit. That's why he only went for 90 days. And I'm like, oh, okay, 90 days. Yeah, he probably just got, fucked over. Right? And then obviously, I see all this shit come out online. It's a lot to hear that about your dad. I feel like it's kind of reasonable to be a little bit.
He's just saying that he heard about it now. He's known about this longer than that. So this is just him. Again, that video when he was trying to say, it's not my fault because I didn't know about the full allegations of my father and all the counts and stuff like that. Bullshit. Victim. Trying not to have full accountability for his actions of bringing his father on stream. Knowing all too well of all the criticism he has for all the P words out there, for all the lolly lovers out there, about not having any sympathy or empathy for them, not having any moral equivalency for them. Okay, matter of fact, okay, he wants them all to fucking die and burn in hell, probably, most likely, like most people do. And yet for his father, he made an exception, which you would for your father. So just say that and own up to it all. But he can't because he's a little victim, shaming alpha bitch. That's why.
Upset. I wasn't upset at Hassan for doing it. However, finding out about all that stuff about your dad is pretty awful. And then also people calling him a rapist, which just, he wasn't a
right. Now you want to be the standard bearer for name calling. You fucking hypocrite.
rapist. That's not a thing that happened, right? Like that's not the crime he was charged
Okay,
for.
well, he didn't have forced penetrative sex
Yeah,
with
of
women.
course. Right.
But
Yeah.
he did
I don't even, and to be fair, unlike Tectone, I do not know all the allegations. I know there's 14 accounts of you've been charged with. So I don't know the nuances here, but apparently it gets into it a little bit.
Actually assault them, I believe. I don't know the ins
Yeah,
and outs of it.
Sexually assault, right? So it's all the above. It may not be oral, but it could be close to that as well. Touching and stuff like that. Definitely feeling them up, sure, which is enough.
I mean, the proper thing to call him, people were calling my father the LeBron.
Well, what you really got to call him was that he's just a real man that likes women. That's all. And he's just got a little touchy. It's totally normal. You know, it's not like they have their own personal space. They are technically objects for the man's eye anyway. So why they are complaining from one of the most macho mans I've ever met, my dad, well, that's a problem that I can't speak up publicly because that would look really bad, but I'm going to make excuses.
James
And I don't do that for anybody else, by the way.
He's not. He's more like the Max Verstappen of sexual assault, right? So as long as we can just be like, honest with our titles, you know what I mean? So, obviously there's a big difference. I think you'd agree.
Sure, I think that,
Yeah.
I understand where you're coming from, and I've got some sympathy for feeling emotional about that. I just always
As we all would. It is family. Family's difficult.
find it a little bit obnoxious when streamers present that super hard to their audience. It comes across like, you see it as being real, perhaps.
Oh, yeah. This is the heart of the problem right here. Good job, Chud. Go in.
But to me, it just comes across as manipulative, and I think people are gonna,
Ooh, it's a good word, man. That is a good word to describe Tectone.
buy into your emotion about it and have a certain take on the drama.
And he'll make a video. He'll make a video maybe at some point. Oh, yeah, I was manipulative, blah, blah, blue, blue, blue. He'll make a video about anything, you know?
Not do without the emotion.
Sure. I do think that you would agree that, let's say I was doing that as a ploy, right? I was, let's pretend, right? I think that you understand that that would be the biggest misplay to ever do, due to the fact that in the political sphere, the person who shows emotion always loses, right? So obviously that would have never been
But not you. And because your community is so cultivated and so sheepish, herdist, cultish that it doesn't affect you. And nobody questions it. Everybody thinks it's sincere because you've cultivated that audience to your benefit, you know?
the proper play to ever do that, because the way to win in the political space is to just be neutral, act calm, ignore any criticism whatsoever, and continue to try to like brainwash your audience of a certain method. I mean,
Yeah,
I feel like
you do that. You do that on every scale. You even do the maneuvers that should lose, but you win, and you know that because you've tried this. What, I don't know how many times now, and every time you've only been more successful. So why not do it again? And again, it's worked. Again, I wouldn't question your motives if you would have just fucking owned up to the fact that you knew what your father did. You made decisions to have him on stream this whole entire time, even though you criticized everybody else for doing the same very thing that you did, but you didn't even want to take ownership of that. So therefore, yes, I'm going to question every other fucking step that happens after that. Who wouldn't? And that's the kind of stuff that I think that I could have provided in this conversation that my man here, Chud, didn't, because he doesn't know Tectone. Which is why Tectone's never going to have me on stream.
it's really not that hard to believe that a guy on stream found out that his dad is worse than what he
My God, this is so convenient.
believed, and the idea that his hero is now a shattered version of that, and now they're probably not going to interact as much.
Just remember the narrative, and this is all on my channel, so I don't need to bring up the fucking facts. Okay, all you commenters out there that's going to say, "Oh, it's not true." Okay, there's videos already. I've shown him saying that he was distant from his father, that he only reconnected because he had cancer, and that they fell apart and stuff like this. Yeah, and this whole fucking narrative now about the kumbaya shit. Come on. He talked about a story about his father, at 16, physically abusing him and stuff like that, which I get it. Like, fathers, mothers, families, yes, we all have love for them, regardless if they're fucking the worst people in the world. I understand that. But it's the way he does it is the problem. That's what you got to understand about what I'm trying to convey here, okay? Just be truthful about it then. Just be truthful about it. But no, he's trying to win on all sides, and the point is he can. Because his audience is so fucking young, so brainwashed, so idiotic, and I don't like to use words like that because it doesn't really help anything. But I can't explain it any other way.
isn't really fun to deal with.
Sure. I mean, obviously, I can't look inside your head and assess exactly what you were thinking in that moment.
And Chud
So
saying that every time is good. He needs to establish that. And that opens up a lot, and that could allow for some really good content. Hopefully,
I think it's a bit misguided to think that an emotional reaction won't tee up your audience to have a certain response or reaction and support you off the back of that.
Yeah, but I think you'd understand that every
and my videos convey that pretty effectively, which is the fucking point, by the way.
streamer's chat's going to support them regardless, whether they're crying or not.
No. I mean, yes, that's true. But at the same time, that it's the next level too. It's next level shit. And at that moment, you were expected to cry because you came in acting like you didn't know all the allegations, and therefore it would have been an emotional response. Because had you known all the allegations, it would have been a different response, right? You wouldn't have cried because you've already known this. And you would have leaned in and said it wasn't a big deal, blah 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 blah. But you had to go with the counter narrative, so you made up this whole fucking thing again. Manipulative as fuck, man. Calculated as fuck, man. Malicious as fuck, man. This is the point that he's trying to make, that we're all trying to make. It's obvious to us. And you can call it bad faith. You can call it whatever the fuck you want. Enough of what you say is found to be not true to where we can poke holes in it. And you know whose fault that is? That's your fault. For using your father, for spreading drama, for trying to deplatform everybody. Instead, you should be just playing fucking video games, okay, reacting to fucking gotcha lolly fucking characters, hanging out with fucking whoever else, what's his name, Mudahar and everybody else. Kumbaya. But no, because you don't want just some success. You want all of the success. In this, Asmongold, Hassan, this is how you get it.
Yeah, sure. There's a lot of like parasocial attachment and stuff that happens. Yeah, absolutely.
So like they're like, you know what I'm saying? Like there's like,
And I'm proud of myself. I've been on this platform for what, a year and a half? I guarantee you. And I don't have a very big audience, but I've tried at every fucking opportunity to disillusion that shit right off. I don't want anybody to connect with me personally at all. Period. I don't.
there's no reason
and I
to play
do know that is 50%, if not more, of most of these content creators' success. And it's absolutely sickening. And they will lean into it too.
it that way. And by the way, I do think it is very funny that you say how pleasant I am.
He has to go back to this, right? Because he doesn't want this narrative to be spread, like, as he's not usually pleasant.
I appreciate that, by the way. If you go watch any of my other content when I do podcasts, I hope you don't think that I'm like, you know, jerking your balls or.
Well, you brought Mr. Pokey on, and I know you're friends with I know you're reconnected or whatever else, but you basically 5v1 him. You don't treat your gotcha cat. Maybe you treat them all good. Potentially, I don't watch it all the time to know for sure. But again, it's like McDonald's is a rotating cast, so therefore behind the scenes you're must be a menace. I can only imagine, because why wouldn't they want to be on the gotcha cast? It does give them, you know, some notoriety and some public exposure.
You know, blowing
Well,
smoke
no,
up
not
your
at
ass.
all. Not at all.
Yeah.
It just, you know, it feels like, I mean, you know, you talked about me for a couple of minutes. It wasn't the be all and end all. Obviously, as a
Okay.
smaller streamer, I'd be stupid to not talk about that because a bigger streamer talking about you,
Sure.
as you know from your own experience, is often, you know, a good thing to bring up on your own stream.
Sure.
It just, the tone that you're bringing here is different to, I guess, maybe what I was anticipating
Of
based
course.
on some of the comments you made about me.
Yeah, that happens a lot when I talk to people. I usually have that impression of, wow, this guy's the world's biggest jackass. This guy's the world's biggest dickhead. Oh, okay, well maybe not, and that's okay. I understand that. I'm known for giving the worst first impression.
It just comes across as a bit phony to me, if I'm honest.
Sure, yeah. I mean, you can definitely believe that 100%. But yeah, I mean, if you just pull up any of my streams or any of my videos, it's just pretty much me all the time.
It's either one or the other, Tectone. It's either one or the other. It really is. You can't be as much of a bully as you are and then also be this nice. You just can't. There's no, unless, of course, you're a psychopath. Or like a narcissist and lack empathy. Yeah, okay, sure. Yes, you can. Go for it, Tectone. Carry on.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, like I say, obviously, you know, you've got your perception on the crying. I've got my interpretation of it. I can't
Sure.
see what was in your head.
I think it goes as simple as, if you like me, you'll think it's legitimate. If you don't like me, you'll think that it's performative, and that's pretty much just how it goes.
God, that is such a fucking bad take, and this is why, you know, not that it will ever make it up to, you know, LSF, but this is why those kind of things are there, and people that say stupid shit like that, yeah. They need to be called out for it.
Like, that's why I don't really worry about my public perception online, because it's always going to boil down to, if the people don't like me, they're not going to believe me. If the people like me, then they're going to fucking actually like me. And if people look into it, well, then people.
Yeah. And guess how well that's actually helped anybody in the world today? If you just take whoever you like and trust them completely, 100%, which obviously in some cases you have to if they're your wife, your significant other, your kids, your family. Outside of that, if you do that for anybody else, they will take advantage of you, most likely. Okay? Most people are not in it for the goodness of their heart. They're in it for opportunistic reasons. Period. And if you're a content creator in a community, yeah, that's more likely than you being a nice guy. Period.
will actually believe me even more. And that's pretty much just it.
Oh, look into it.
Because-
I've looked into it, and I believe you a lot less. And I'll be honest with you. If you go back to my original, interaction with Tectone initially, I did believe him when he said the things he said. I actually was like changing my narrative, and I was being nicer to Tectone because that was before I knew Tectone. Now I would know better. Now I know his strategy. Now I know his techniques.
Is it something you've done before when you were talking about the allegations with your ex? You were crying about that on stream as well.
What? Can you refresh my memory?
I can't remember the exact point at which you did, but you definitely broke down in tears at some point addressing, perhaps in regards to your own assault. I'm not sure. It might have been in regards to that.
Kind of like a hard thing to talk about, don't you think?
Yeah, no, I understand that. I understand that.
like, come on, man. I mean, like sometimes people
But people
cry.
talk about tough things all the time, and they're not in tears on stream.
Well, yeah, sure, but I'm a pretty emotionally connected guy. You can tell I get angry.
Right. Interesting. Good way to save face, Tectone. And yet, what do you do for other people that have that same, response or illicit emotion? You bash them to the ground. You make them look weak. You've had so many videos about weak-minded people, blah, blah, blah. They shouldn't exist. Cut from your community, blah, blah, blah. So you're the only one. You're the cult leader that's allowed to have emotional range. Everybody else is not. I don't have to say anything more for it to look the way it looks.
Angry really easily. I get sad really easily. I get happy really easily.
And
Yeah,
yet
I mean,
we allow you on content. Now, a really good bar for this profession.
Obviously, there's no way of, like I say, demonstrating intent in what you're doing. I just personally always find it manipulative when streamers cry in front of their audiences.
Sure. There's a
It's a very good point.
there's a video. You ever played a gacha game?
Yes, yeah, I actually took a Genshin sponsorship a little while ago.
I'm so sorry. Did you like it?
Yeah. Well, no, because it was a 20 gig download, and you
Yeah.
had to do it on the phone, so it was a fucking waste of time, to be honest.
Yeah, I didn't like it either. There's this video of me pulling this character Kafka in Honkai Star Rail, and I got so excited I passed out on the floor. Yeah, and I like took off my fucking clothes. That was performative, but I like genuinely passed out for like 3 seconds. I think just my emotions are very charged. But yeah, I think you're from.
There ain't no
Brit-
fucking way that was done without it being a sponsor. So again, mostly performative, and he riled himself up to that point. I don't know. I can't speak to his emotional range, but if he is a psychopath narcissist, he probably doesn't have much emotional range by definition. But I don't know that is. But that would again go back to the original statement that I made about how I could come to that conclusion. And if that doesn't apply, then yeah, insert that other reason.
Britain. I can tell by your very thick accent, and I'm from America, so you can probably tell by my view on gun laws.
You're definitely not American, but we're not going to get personal here.
That we're probably just different, and I understand you're probably a pretty cynical guy, and that's okay. But
At least, okay.
just wanted to
Let me take
come
it
here.
back. Let me take it back. I'm sorry if you're still here 20 seconds after I just said that comment. You didn't leave. I don't know that Tectone is not American. However, when I looked up his age for the Grumman video that I made, it said he was from somewhere else. That's all I'm going to say.
And say sorry for calling you Frogan, man. That's pretty much it.
Okay, I mean, obviously, the other thing that I think it was probably worth bringing up whilst you're here in regards to your dad is, do you have any kind of thoughts about the fact that you used him in kind of the online discourse to back up your arguments about PTSD?
People keep on saying that I used my dad to back up my discourse. I believe what I said is my brothers didn't. What did I say? My brother, my father, and our soldiers didn't. Should I pull up the exact tweet?
Yeah, I don't know off the top of my head, but I know you referenced your father in it.
Yeah, sure. My dad was a soldier. My brother was a soldier. I'm from a military family, and I'm, very supportive of our troops. I don't think I was directly using my father. He was also in the sentence, but I don't think I was weaponizing my father in any
You
means.
definitely were weaponizing your father, because if you weren't, You would have just said, I support my troops wholeheartedly. But no, you added that again, like you do everything else in your life, like you do everything else to deplatform people, to discredit people. You use every possible weapon in your arsenal, whether it be pointy edged or just sloppy seconds.
Soldiers and how I have, a good view of soldiers because I'm from a military family. That's pretty much it.
I mean, first of all, if you're from a military family, you probably have a bad view of soldiers, okay? Because of the cost it takes to actually bear living with someone who's served in the military, especially those who have gone into combat theater. A lot of times that comes with its own baggage and issues and obstacles, and therefore a lot of military family members, adjacent, have a lot of issues as well, ultimately. But yes, of course, most people respect, the military. There are levels here, though. And that's not the issue.
Yeah, sure.
That's not the
I
issue.
guess
It was you using your father. And more importantly, him not being the hero that you made it out to be. Even though he's technically a hero, he's a soldier. Doesn't discount all of his service before he did the allegations. I mean, probably doing them during that time. Bill Cosby was America's dad, and technically still is America's dad to a certain point in time. But after, obviously things change.
that's the point that I'm making is, I mean, I don't know what your take is on this, and I appreciate there's been a lot of harsh comments from myself in regards to your father and whatnot.
Yeah.
But obviously, if you bring him up and bring him into the online discourse, of course, you've got to expect that people are going to find stuff out about him and potentially talk.
Exactly. Another point that I make all the fucking time. Thank you for making that point as well. You brought him up. Fair game. You do this often. Shut the fuck up. Play your gotcha games. Get all that money back from Japan and China. And just live a boring factory life and keep on eating that gotcha slop. But no. You can't help yourself.
Talk about him, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I don't think that was my intention to bring him up and say, my dad's really cool. Look at this fucking guy. Hassan, you're wrong.
Here we go. Yep. But that's the implication. He knows it. You know it. I know it. Everybody knows it.
Because my dad did this. I don't think I was doing that. It's been kind of odd to see like kind of the revisionist history that occurred. Maybe I'm just off the mark here. But I don't think I was doing
off
that.
the fucking mark. You are literally in a different state while everybody else is running a marathon. And the good news for you is that hopefully you can just run and never see the finish line, because then everybody else wouldn't have to deal with all your stupidity.
But I do think it's just kind of weird how like, Hassan would go after my father for like his criminal past. When he has an uncle who's like talking about how beast.
Okay, it's fair, okay, but tit for tat shit just isn't good regardless. So don't do that to begin with. Clearly, and your father was convicted in military court, right? Which I think still applies to civilians. It's a little bit difficult to. I don't know if he was actually. He might have been convicted through the state of California or wherever he was. Fort Bragg, Texas or California, right? Fort Bragg, it's something like that. Might be in the East Coast.
Bestiality should be legal, and how he fantasizes about young girls at the beach. I just feel like it's kind of weird. Like
Nice.
where does the buck stop? When do we stop being guilty by association?
Well, we right, and I spoke to that, and I still agree with that. We stop being guilty by association, period. We are not. But our actions do, unfortunately, elicit that connection to be possibly brought into it and say, okay, this explains a lot because of the way you were brought up. And we do know, I mean, not everybody. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a therapist. I'm not, I haven't gone to school for this. So I don't know specifically, but I just can speak from my own personal experience and then other people's experiences that family, growing up, adolescence, all that stuff can have an effect on you as an adult.
When do we stop being guilty by like, generational guilt? I think is like a very stupid concept.
I mean,
like-
that feels like deflection. I don't think you're guilty for your father's crimes, of course.
Sure.
But I think you bringing him onto stream as well in a positive light, you know, it's kind of inevitable that this was going to come up and come back to bite you, right?
Well, you know, when you think your dad's a good dude,
Again,
I mean, I
this
guess.
narrative, going back to this narrative. Yep. Yeah, he believes it too.
I don't know. I fucking stream all my family
See this?
members.
Look at
I've
this,
done
look
it
at
with
this,
my
look at
brother.
this guy. How is that deflection? Armchair psychologist. He served his sentence. He didn't know, bro. Not really. See this fucking shit, man? And he knows it. Tectone sees it. He's able to read the chat pretty effectively. He'll know if this is gonna turn bad.
You
for
know,
him.
I stream with my mom. You know, like I just feel like it's like a kind of a normal thing to do for streamers, don't you think? Oh, also, here's the tweet.
No,
here's
it's
I
not
have it
normal,
pulled up.
and I've spoken to that. It's obviously a way to further ingratiate yourself with the audience and develop that parasocial fucking relationship, that cultish sheepish shit.
So the
Sure,
tweet,
go on.
the tweet says,
Which is
I
another
am
reason
genuinely
why
considering
okay, so I don't know who made the decision. Okay, I was going to speak to this in a different video, but I might as well, if you're still here, then it matters to you specifically. But the camera had changed, and I thought, well, maybe he wants a different perspective because he's bulking up now and he wants, you know, more of his body in actual focus. But it could be that Sophia, I don't remember her actual real name, asked him not to do that so she can kind of walk off camera. And like lately, after I criticized him like 2 weeks ago, he's been asking her to come on camera, which I don't know if that was happening before, so maybe it's me just thinking that. But regardless, like, he uses everybody else. He uses roommates. He'll use Genocide when Genocide is there. He tried to use Leroy. He uses Los Shenra when he can. He uses X Prime. All these people, he'll try to use.
full swabbing to YouTube if this terrorist propaganda isn't punished harshly and immediately on Twitch. My father, my brothers, and our soldiers did not bleed, sacrifice, and die for this bullshit to be allowed and promoted on Twitch. This needs to be changed immediately. Yeah, which, by the way, if Hassan looks into my brothers, too, they're way worse. You know, they've killed people.
I mean, obviously,
yeah.
you know, I'm no Hassan fan, right? I'm not a Hassan guy, so
Yeah, sure.
You know, I'm not looking to defend Hassan on the basis of his family or whatever. But you know, it's just that you're invoking your father in order to try and get someone else deplatformed, essentially, only for them to have done things which potentially cause PTSD themselves, right? You see the kind of
Sure. So real quick,
the irony there.
So you keep on saying like invoking my dad. Do you really think that post reads just invoking my dad? I was my father, my brother, and our soldiers, right? So me bringing them up.
Okay, Tectone, you ignorant asshole. Yes, it does. Okay, it doesn't necessarily invoke your dad to the, you know, general community, but it invokes your dad to the community that actually applies to you, which Hassan was criticizing, the one that you need to defend. And your dad has been brought on stream. So therefore, the characterization is you invoked your fucking dad. You fucking walk around fucking this way, that way to try to wiggle your way out of it, asshole. Take.
Which is to say that I'm from a military family. That's pretty much it.
Well, you're referencing them to bring an emotional weight to your argument, I think, is what's happening there.
Yeah, and he'll say, well, you can't speak to my emotional intentional. No.
Was I doing that? I think I was just saying, hey man, I'm upset about
Well, why
this
did you
shit.
mention him at all? Why did you mention him at all then, and just not say PTSD is bad and you shouldn't mock military people?
To kind of get people to understand where I'm coming from.
Exactly. Be manipulative.
Yeah, to add emotional weight to the argument. Yeah, exactly.
Sure,
Well, I mean,
you sound like you know a lot more about the psychology term than me, man. I'm just a guy.
Well, no, it's not about knowing about psychology. It feels like quite an obvious, you know, intent.
So now he's going to act like he never even thought about that action, which is possible. Like I said, go back to, I don't know how long ago, 15 minutes ago. If you're a narcissist, a psychopath, maybe you do lack the ability to understand how that could be conveyed. I mean, there's other, I think, mental conditions potentially, or just lifestyle, being arrogant or something. I don't know, that could basically excuse the behavior or, you know, understand it. But normal people would be okay with if you got criticized for that. Say, yeah, you know what, I could probably see how that could look like that. But no, not Tectone.
That you're you know trying to achieve there, and you're acting like you're just kind of referencing them for the hell of it. Whereas to me, it's like to underpin it that you have got some direct knowledge of this.
And if it was just isolated, just that one time that Tectone just said that, and therefore he's innocent, no. Tried and true tactics over and over and over and over and over and over again. Every possible opportunity where he can leverage or victimize or get sympathy or empathy or whatever, this, that, and everything out in between, he does. Which indicates his mind is either so attuned to just that thought process, or he's doing it on fucking purpose.
It was more like to show why I'm so passionate about this subject.
Bullshit.
Yeah, exactly. That's yeah, sure. If
Are we saying the same thing?
Yeah, more or less
Here
we're
we
saying the
go.
same thing. Yeah,
Here we
sure.
go.
I just think there's this kind of denial because it's like you don't want to accept that there's. I don't know. It feels like you don't want to accept that there's some level of you doing that almost.
Okay.
Like. Okay. Well, if we agree on that, that's fine. I mean,
I'm thinking maybe we're saying the same thing. I'm not entirely sure.
Here we go. In his community, he's reading the chat right now, and this will kind of like be a win for Tectone, to be honest, because there's no pushback at this point.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
He gives up. There's no point.
I mean, that was it. I mean, did you have any specific issues with anything I've said about you, your family, or anything like that?
I mean this genuinely. I don't know what you've said. I don't know. I don't know if you've said anything bad about me or my family. I just felt dismissive, and some of my chat was like, "Hey, man, I think you're a little bit too harsh on Chud."
There you go.
And I was like, "Okay, let me look into him." Oh, yeah. I mean, I guess he's not like Frogan at all. That's
Yeah, he actually has a platform that can potentially be an issue for you if he wants to go all in.
pretty much just it.
Well, no, I don't. Well, obviously it's up for people to decide. But I
What
don't
if you're
really
like
think there's
Frogan?
much comparison there.
I don't think.
Well, no,
you're
I mean,
Frogan.
obviously I've got a very different tact and whatnot.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, if you've got time as well, just briefly whilst we're on the line, Nuxtaku, I saw you react to that video about Nuxtaku.
Yeah, Nux, you don't like Nux?
Well, I mean, you didn't see my part of the video because you skipped it, so you maybe don't know what my kind of contribution or issue was.
All right, you want me to pull it up?
No, you don't need to pull it up. You don't need to pull it up. It's fine. I'm
Well,
just,
okay. What you want to say about Nux?
I don't know. I mean, I felt like you were quite favourable towards your friend when you covered him.
I think that's how most people are. I think that's how most people are. I'm not like a neutral journalist, Usually people are pretty good to their friends, don't you think?
Yeah, of course, I get that. I mean,
Yeah.
I've got people that I'm friends with that I absolutely would be kind of biased towards or more favourable towards. I just feel like you kind of watched this hit piece about him, and then there were some points where you kind of just like skipped over it or didn't really address certain aspects that were.
I think the only
being
part I
pointed out.
skipped was you because of the whole meme of who the fuck is Chud Logic on LSF. That was like 2 years ago. Yeah, that's pretty much it. And plus, I mean, obviously, I will admit, on stream, I do play up a bit more of a dickhead than I am. I'm not going to deny that I'm a dickhead in real life. I absolutely am. But sometimes we like being a jackass a little bit for fun.
Well, why did you bother watching a hit piece about him if he's your friend? Why did you just,
It didn't seem like a hit piece at all.
Oh, I see. So did you pick it because it was a bit more favourable towards him then?
No, I saw it, so I can give you the full context. So the guy's name is Royalty is Here, I believe. That's his username, the YouTuber who made it?
Yeah, that's right. That sounds about right. Yeah.
And so he made a video on me, and I just reacted to it on stream. It went very well. It was from 2 years ago. And everything that he said about me was out of context clips and bad faith arguments over and over and over and over again. And so I leave a comment, or I can't remember what I did. We interfaced somehow, and he said, yeah, looking back on this video, it was horrendous, and I apologize. I completely misrepresented you. And I said, okay. So the guy understands, and he was at least trying to be fair. And so then I see, oh, okay, this guy made a video on me that was an immense amount of bad faith. I wonder what he said about Nux. I clicked the video, and the dislike ratio was like non-existent. And I was like, oh, okay. So let's see how it goes, because the like to dislike ratio video on mine was fucking terrible. I think it had like 30% dislikes because it was just like completely horribly presented. But the guy apologized.
Right, and I made sure my community was vocal about it.
I said he doesn't stand by what he said, and so I just wanted to see what he said about Nux. But yeah, I mean, I think that's fine.
Oh no, sure. I thought you'd picked it because maybe it was like more of a attacking video, but it seems like you thought it was more favourable from the sounds of it.
Oh, well, the thing is, for me, is that I really don't worry about whether a video is fair or not, because as long as people know the full context of the situations, let's say there is a video that paints one of my friends or someone that I don't like in a bad light, and I think that you'll admit that I'm pretty fair towards the people that I get into discourse with. I don't really think I make things up, like call people a rapist or anything like that. I think I've been pretty fair, and I stick to comments like for example, I called you ugly. I think you'd agree that you're not really the best looking guy, just like I'm not the best looking guy.
Hey, sure. Yeah, I even said you got a point, to be honest.
You see what I mean? Like when I called Frogan fat, she's pretty fucking fat.
Yeah, but it's the intent. Be very fucking clear about this, okay? Regardless of, observational norms or societal standards, it's still meant to demean.
Right? It is what it is. Hopefully we don't get banned. But yeah, like I don't really like say things that aren't, pretty easily noticeable. I don't make up that people committed crimes or any of that shit unless they do that to me first. Right? And then I'm like, okay, well, if you're going to fuck with me like that, then I guess the gloves are off, and I guess let's just make this as messy as possible. Right? Like for example, so Hassan called me a fucking rapist. He said, and I quote, "Brother has a generational familial obligation to rape." And so I lie about him and I say that he's 45. And that's, you know what I mean? I know that bothers him. And that's pretty much it, But I think I'm a pretty reasonable guy.
Sure. I mean, yeah, at the end of the day, the Nuxtaki stuff is like, there's so much deep-rooted drama in that. It doesn't really matter at this point. It just, interesting to get some insight into why you watched that video. But
sure.
But yeah, anyway, that's it really, unless there's anything you wanted to talk about.
Have you always had viewers on YouTube?
I switched over to YouTube.
He is so fucking upset that he picked the wrong person again. And this is the problem with Tectone. He just literally shoots off his mouth before he does anything. He never thought that I would still be here 10 months later reacting to his content. He never thought that this guy would have any fucking relevancy at all until he did. And then he's like, oh, fuck me. Now he's going to try to figure out how he became relevant because he shouldn't be relevant with that blah, 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 blah.
About a year and a half ago. So
How did you?
Back when you came and invited me to play Fortnite, I had about 500 viewers back then, I think.
How did you become successful so I can stop that from happening to other content creators like you?
What a great guy. How did you think LSF was big for blowing up your career?
Yeah, definitely. It had an impact. I was always posted covering whatever fucking OTK drama was happening.
You like OTK?
But it got to not really, no. I think that, it's kind of a double-edged sword because speaking shit about OTK people ends up getting you a bad reputation. And there was some gay study someone did, and apparently I was one of the most hated people on LSF, which is fine. I'm very vitriolic, I get that. But yeah, I think it had a negative impact in some ways.
Yeah, I do think, after the conversation, I do think you have a lot of bad faith. I do. And
you think I say things I don't believe?
Sorry, what can you repeat that?
What I don't know what you mean by bad faith. Because I would understand it to mean I'm saying things that I don't truly believe.
From a religious perspective, that makes sense. Bad faith.
Yeah, so I think that you're going into this field as a neutral journalist, a neutral perspective individual. But I think that if your biases and your opinions are entirely based off of just the clips you see, and you don't go to look for the further context, I do think that's going to lead you down a bad path to be hated, right? Because
see how he just got I'll give Tectone credit. He rarely does not actually slip up his speech, so he definitely got kind of wrestled with this guy right here, Chud.
Nobody should be judged by one clip that happened 4 years ago in the span of 30 seconds. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of the negative perspective that you have towards me.
You have more than one clip, by the way, Tectone.
To where you even doubt how, what's the word? I guess, is corrigible a word? Is that
corrigible?
A word? Corrigible?
I don't know. What are you trying to allude to? What do you mean?
I just think it's very funny how you came in here with a lot of bad faith arguments and perspectives, and you were like, I think you're faking being nice. Cordial, that's the word. Yeah, it's like, nah, I'm just not doing that, man. I really pride myself in not being involved in all the rat race shit. Because I'm pretty sure that know.
I can understand you think that's bad faith. I'm
Sure.
just explaining. It feels like, you know, you making this kind of shitty comment towards me and then being super nice is an effort to try and build rapport with me, so we have a more favorable conversation. That's what I'm trying to get across.
Okay.
Or maybe you're just a
once
nice
again,
guy. Maybe you're just a really nice guy. Maybe you're just a really nice guy. Maybe I'm wrong. But to
Okay.
me, that's what it comes across like.
Well, I appreciate that. And I understand your perspective more. But yeah, if you ever want to come watch my stream sometime, and I'll watch yours. And once again,
The
I
thing
just
is,
Come into the circle, Chad. Come in. Now, once you do, though, just so you know, I take half of what you own. I take everything. I'm eventually going to take everything you own, but I'll take half at first. You'll have no choice because your community will integrate into my community, and once that happens, I'll manipulate them. And then I will spread rumors about you, and then I'll make it. I'll be victim again, and then you'll be irrelevant, and I'll deplatform you, and then I'll win.
you know,
I
Rinse and repeat.
I'll be honest with you, right?
Yeah.
I don't like big streamers because I feel like they've got this suffocating hold over like what you can and can't say about them. And already you're
True.
upset with me because I've criticized some aspect of your
True. Which he's made public, by the way. Tectone made those things public.
response. And sure, my editors put some shitty thumbnails out about you. But if we get closer, what if something happens and I need to say, oh, I think Tectone has done something terrible here? Well, you know, am I going to get a knock on the door and you're going to be, oh, Chud, you can't be saying this?
No, trust me. And I think I know what streamers you're referring to. Trust me, I've dealt with my fair share of streamers where they're like, delete that, delete that, delete that. You can't say that. You can't say that. You can't talk to this person. Trust me, I get it. I know what you've probably gone through, and it's definitely very frustrating for sure.
For example, you know, I know this
Thank God I will never be in that position. Nobody's going to tell me what I can and cannot post.
is a sensitive
And if they do, and if that's a requirement, I'm done.
issue for you, but if stuff happens with your ex and stuff comes out and I've got a different view on it, like, what impact is that going to have? Like, surely you're going to be fucking annoyed with me if I say, I think this guy did X, Y, and Z terrible
for real,
thing.
legit. This whole thing was that I just felt out of pocket for calling you Frogan. That's it. You can do whatever you want, man. You don't have any obligation to do anything for me at all.
He has to say that. He has to say that. He has to say that. He cannot say otherwise. I can assure you that is not the normal course of action Tectone will take.
Okay, dude.
Yeah, see, even Chud does not believe it. He knows that he's not being. This is the problem. He knows he's not being truthful, and this is the problem with Tectone. It's very easy if you know Tectone that this is all just a fucking game right now that's being played. And he's saying all the things that you would expect him to say if he was a nice person trying to save face. Hopefully, Chud never makes another video about him. Blah 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 blah.
Okay, well, listen, I mean, based on nothing else, I guess I'll thank you for that, you know,
Sure.
openness. Thanks for coming on.
Sure.
And I guess we'll leave it there.
So Fortnite or Tomato Town or
I'm more into Warzone, to be honest.
damn, that shit is old, bro. How old are you?
So bad. You don't reveal your age with Tectone. He'll exploit the shit out of that. I said that to him. I tried to talk to Chud for a little bit while he was at the later end of this interview, and it didn't really work out. He didn't see the messages, and his community was barking back at me. So I didn't get to get on. But yeah, I try to help him a little bit.
I'm 38.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. You should try Marvel Rivals. Marvel Rivals is way better.
Marvel Rivals is not anything compared to Warzone. It's Overwatch and Warzone. You fucking old non-gamer.
I think I couldn't really get into that. I'm not into hero shooters. I prefer battle royale, to be honest. Maybe it's
Okay.
just my age, but of a slower pace, you know.
Yeah, probably. You ever play PUBG?
Yes, classic.
That shit's
Classic
fire
game.
as fuck, dude. I just don't know what
Yeah.
it is, man. Like Fortnite is cool, but the gunplay in PUBG is just fucking phenomenal.
You mean the cheaters in PUBG are phenomenal?
But yeah, I mean, I guess I won't bother you with too much more small talk. Feel free to do and say whatever it is you want to say. You won't catch me in your DMs, don't worry. But yeah, I just, it might be weird, but I, unlike iDubbbz, developed empathy at a very early age. And it was legit just my bad.
Well, I mean, obviously, it's very disarming when someone's as apologetic as you are. You know, obviously, yes, I've
You're
got my
not used to it, right?
frustrations,
Not used
but-
to it. Most people double the fuck down.
Well, no, I mean, you know, I'm just used to very slimy streamers acting in certain ways to placate people, but
Yeah, and he would be, and he will be slimy to you when it's convenient for him. But right now, his community is saying that he has to, think twice about you. So he's going to play the game. But just so you know, Chud, if you were a sub 100 streamer, this conversation would not be happening the way it's happening right now, most likely.
you know, maybe I'm wrong on this case. Maybe you are just genuine.
For sure.
Who knows? We'll see. We'll see, won't we?
Hey, dude, the moment I hang up this call, I'm going to say, hey, fuck this fat, ugly piece of shit.
He just said it.
Yeah, but for real, do whatever you want, man. I just wanted to tell you my bad, and have a great stream.
Thanks. Catch you later, mate. Bye.
All right, peace.
I have not watched this segment, and I don't know how long we're going to watch, but most likely this is almost the end of the video, just so you guys know.
That is so funny to me how he thought that I was like faking being cordial. That was insane to me. I was like, dude, what do people think that I'm like? Yo, fuck this fat, ugly piece of shit. No, for real though. That is so funny how he thought I was faking being cordial. Like, holy fuck. Thinking that I was faking crying too. I was like, what? All right. Well, anyways, that was a good conversation. I enjoyed that. I mean, I could tell the guy definitely did not have a good opinion of me. I could tell. It was this. It's not specifically because of you. It is based off of prior interactions. That's also probably fair. He probably got fucked over by a lot of people for sure. But yeah. Well, it is what it is. Bro, Tectone's so fake. Caught in 4K. Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I mean, I have no issue talking to anybody who's previously criticized me. It's no big deal. And yeah, why don't we get right back into what we were doing? And why don't we get into the Daily Scramble? What's this?
Okay, so we will end the video.
Why the fuck are you still here?
Oh, I didn't know I was going to be brought up there. Hold on one second. Go back. I had no idea they were going to do that. I didn't watch this part, so I'm glad I didn't end the stream.
Over by a lot of people for sure. But yeah. Well, it is what it is. Bro, Tectone's so fake. Caught in 4K. Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I mean, I have no issue talking to anybody who's previously criticized me. It's no big deal.
Setup here. I didn't get to see
yeah,
it. Going
why don't we get right back into what we were doing? And why don't we get into the Daily Scramble?
Am I on
what's
Daily
this?
Scramble? Am I on Daily Scramble? Oh, he clicked me on accident.
Why the fuck are you still here? He's still here. Oh my God, bro. Oh my God. This is all he does. That's all he does, bro. That's all he does. That's insane, bro. That's insane. That is man, oh man.
I might have to edit this video that out of the front.
Okay.
Oh, jeez.
Great. I get to release my Silver Palace react today. Thank fucking God.
All right. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I'm glad he saw it. I was trying to get Chud to go in. I was trying to get Chud to not stop actually leaning into the narrative. But he didn't, obviously, because I wanted to let him know that he does actually call people names in it, and it's more than just ugly and the other word that he calls Frogan. But that's this video. I might do a follow-up of like maybe some of Chud's content because it seems like it might be relevant to my content, or I might just start watching him to see if I can get any new ideas for videos and stuff like that. But if there's anything else, it'll be on a separate video. This video is about 1 hour and 10 minutes long. So thanks for watching. My name is Plazookas. See you next time. Bye for now.